1. My brothers and sisters, welcome to Knowing the Way. I'm your host, Minister Greg, and thank you for tuning in to this special episode of the series that we call For All My Brothers. It's where I talk to men of God who are making a difference in the local church and in our community. Our topic for today is men and marriage, and I have a very special guest, none other than Mr. Broadus, Buzz Sowell. Buzz is a husband and a father, and he and his wife, Kim, are actually the leaders over our marriage ministry at our church, Love and Faith Christian Fellowship. They also host a powerful radio ministry called Marriage Sowell. The program airs Wednesdays from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. on 100.7 WLJF radio. And if you can't get the radio signal, you can go to loveandfaith.org, click on the media tab, and find the link to listen to new and archived episodes, whatever they're playing that day, or you can go back and listen to some of the archived episodes. But I'm going to call him Buzz because I've known him for a long time. We're real good friends. So, Buzz, always good to talk to you, man, and thank you for your time.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man, and I'm just glad to be here. And I like to say, you man, proud of what you're doing with your podcast and everything, man. Proud of, there's always ways to minister now. We don't have to be behind the pulpit anymore. We can, all this media we got, we can just do it from our living room.
Right.
I'm proud of you doing what you're doing, and you keep up the good work also, brother.
I appreciate that, man. And and I think really God is opening up doors for us not having excuses anymore. Exactly. I mean, I ain't a pastor, I ain't a minister, I don't know the word, or right. I don't like to talk in front of people. But it's funny, right. The folk that say that they own Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram. Yeah. Look at what I had to eat today.
Yeah. Showing that plate.
There you go. So hey, let's turn this thing into some ministry. There's some people out there that want to know about God, and there's some people out there that want to know how guys function in marriage, because from your experience, not just as the leader of the marriage ministry, but as a husband, know that marriage is hard work.
It's hard work, and if you ain't willing to put that hard work in, it's not gonna work out for you. So that's why I feel like we need to, if you're thinking about getting married, you need to go ahead and do your dating. As our pastor always say, dating is collecting data. Find out everything you can find out about that person, just in case they might say you may want kids and they don't want kids.
There you go.
But if you get married and you ain't had that conversation before you got married, you collecting that data, and then you get married and then you come out and say, I'm ready to have kids. And she said, well, I don't want to have no kids. Then you stuck in a rock and a hard place. Actually, I got a buddy at work that's going through that and not in the process of getting divorced because of that. And I was like, I told him, I said, look, you should have collected that data.
Yes, sir.
Before you guys got married. So
yes, sir.
I mean, if you ain't willing to put the work in, don't do it.
Don't do it. Absolutely. And part of that work, like you say, is gathering data, being patient. Right. Not about that individual. Don't just, he look good, she look good, let's get married. So and especially for saved folk. Now this is for everybody. But we're talking to the saints.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
This is for everybody. Everybody can get some glean off of what you'd like to share with us. But we especially talking to the saints, because you and I both seen it. You just talked about an example. We've seen people get into a relationship, jump and get married, and regret it.
Right. And for the saved folks,
go ahead, Buzz.
For the saved folks, God tell us we shouldn't be unequally yoked. So you always say, I can change. You can't change that person. If they're coming in, you saved already and they unsaved, you better wait till they get saved and then say we're gonna get married before because you're not gonna be able to change them if they God is the only one that can change them.
Absolutely.
So and married, go ahead.
And why would I want to change if you just accepted me as I am?
Exactly.
Why would I want to change? Why am I going to get into it? And then you're going to start telling me you don't need to do that. You need to do this. You didn't say that when we was dating. It wasn't a problem then.
Exactly. Exactly. So, you need to make sure you're equally yoked for one before you get into this thing. And for the saved people, if you got married and you were unequally yoked, all you got to do is you got to go to God in prayer now. You got to pray that God touches your spouse's heart that he would want to be saved and want to get on the same playing field as you are, or the same level as you
Right.
are. So,
And it's not just for women, it's for brothers too. Y'all go
right,
out there,
exactly.
you brothers got to make sure you got a virtuous woman. We ain't
Right,
saying
exactly.
perfect. We're talking about
Perfect, right.
a virtuous woman who loves God first and is willing
Exactly.
to submit to your authority. And you'll know that. You'll know
Exactly.
that if you take the time to gather the data, like Bud said, put in the work. You'll
That's
know
right.
that.
You
You'll know
got
what
to
kind of
gather
person
that
you're
data.
dealing with.
Exactly. So just like you said, is we have to gather that data, and we have to know that this person that we're with, well, like you said, I'm coming from somewhat. We're gonna get back on the Christian saved people.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
We just need to realize, like you said before, a virtual woman that is willing to submit to their husband. Because what I feel like now, the world is out of order. I mean,
You're right.
we're not going about a chain of command. It's God, man, the woman, and the kids. A lot of marriages, just with the way the world is now, just got out of order. So we need to, especially the Christian home, is to come back to how God expected it to be. So if it's not that way now, the wife may be more in charge, or the order is backwards a little bit. The man has to be willing to step up and take his role. We all have a role in this thing, because God, I say this all the time, God ordained marriages before he even started the church.
Yes, he did. You're right.
So this thing, God holds marriages to a high standard. So we have to, in order for our marriages to operate in the way that God wants them to operate, we have to have his order, how the order is supposed to go. And we have to stick to his order. I mean, if you're out of order right now, God can get you back in order.
He can get you back in order. And you brought up a good point, Buzz, because about what God had or what God had designated first, and noted that he did designate marriage before the church, because he called the church his bride, the bride of Christ. So that shows you how much authority, how much importance marriage is in the eyes of God. If he's going to take his people and designate them as his bride, and Jesus Christ is the groom who is coming, then that ought to tell you, God loves marriage, and he thinks very highly of it. And another thing you said too, and I heard Pastor say it, he said that, like you said, a lot of marriages are out of alignment. But I thought about something, and you know this for yourself. Remember when we had cars and you didn't know it, but your car kept pulling to the right or pulling to the left, it was out of line. But the real way you could tell is that one of your tires, whichever way it was pulling, one of your tires would wear out faster. And what I found is that when marriages are out of alignment, that's because one tire was taking on the bulk of the load. And what's happening in marriages is they out of alignment, and one spouse is taking on the bulk of the load. So everybody, it's not being equally distributed. She might have to work, and okay, let's say she makes 6 figures, you do 5. But then and she get off at 7 o'clock, you get off at 4. So is she expected to come home and cook after she done put in 12 hours?
Right. No. Especially if you're at home, we have to share this in order for us to be going straight down instead of pulling in one way, be going straight in the same direction. We have to pull our weight. I'll say it like this, Greg. Men have to learn how to be servant leaders. We gotta learn how to serve our wives, serve our family, our kids. And then that way we can serve. And Jesus was the perfect example of a servant leader. He served the people and he led the people. But once you learn how to become the servant, the people behind you will follow you.
That's right.
So you got to give them, you got to show them that you, like Pastor always said, women, if the way you want to be treated, you treat that other person. It's just, men, if you want your wife to do certain things, hey, you do it first and see her do it. She see you doing it, and then she'll be like, wow, I need to really be doing that. So we got to learn how to just be servant leaders to our family. And it's not saying that you're going to be, a lot of men, we got egos, I ain't serving you. We got pride. I mean, we have to, when it comes, I've learned this a long time ago. When it comes to my wife, I have no pride. I have no ego. It's my job to make sure that my house is functioning the way God wants it to function. And if I have to throw my pride to the side and throw my ego out the window for my house to have peace and God's presence in it, if God is holding me accountable for that, I have to do that.
Absolutely. You're absolutely right, man. We gotta drop that thing, because pride goes before destruction and a Holy Spirit before a fall. So and that fall won't just impact you and me, it'll impact our families too. So we gotta be mindful of that. Hey, Buzz, let me ask you this, man. You and Kim are over the marriage ministry. What encouraged you and Kim to help couples focus on having healthy marriages? What encouraged y'all to get started with that?
Well, actually, we were over the marriage ministry at the church we came from, Bethel Baptist Church in Kannapolis.
Okay.
The pastor asked us to be over it, and God had, we didn't want to do it, but God was leading us in that direction. He said, well, yeah, go ahead and accept it. We prayed about it. He said, accept it. But little did we know that it was going to take us this far. I'm a type of brother. I ain't trying to be out front. I don't want to be out front. I mean, I just want to live my life. But God was saying, no, I'm putting something in you guys to share it to other couples. So we just decided, okay, we're gonna let him lead us. So we didn't come to Love and Faith saying, oh, we won't go to nobody saying we want to be over the marriage ministry. We did our own. We sat back on the back pew, and we want to thank you guys for accepting us in. I knew you guys when we got there. Y'all took us in and just showed us all love. But we didn't want to do anything until God said it was time for us to do it. So it was a God thing. He allowed us to go through some things that, me and Kim, we minister from testimony. I mean, we're open books. So we'll tell you that, the money was funny and we was at each other, you know what I'm saying? We'll tell you that's how because we feel like that's how people relate, to other people. Other people say, well, dang, I'm not the only one going through this.
That's right.
We use our testimony just to draw people in and let you know, hey, you're not the only one. The marriages may look good on Sunday when they all dressed up and they walking in, but when they get in the car on the way home, they're not talking to each other. So we let you know that we're just average people, just like you are, and we don't try to be. Like Pastor always say, we try to keep it simple, and we try to give you tools for your toolbox.
Absolutely.
So if one tool is not working in that toolbox, you might need a sledgehammer to knock down the wall, but all you got a hammer. So we try to give you different tools that if you need that sledgehammer, you got it in your toolbox to go knock that wall down.
You got it in there.
Sometimes you only need a hammer. I mean, just to do a little tapping. But sometimes you need that sledgehammer. You got to bust it down. And we try to use the word of God to give people different things in their toolbox.
And that's good, man, because you're not doing it for them. You're giving them what they need so they can do the work, so they can put in the effort. Because something I learned from Pastor too is remember that statement he would always say, without any investment, there's no appreciation. And if you don't put in the time, and it goes back to the work you talked about, if you don't put in the work, then you're not going to appreciate the end result when she loving all over you and she can't wait till you get home. I mean, you start to appreciate that, man.
Right. But
then you look at what you did to get there.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to go through some pain. It's an old song out there, no pain, no gain.
Yes, sir.
Sometimes you have to go through some pain to get some gain. Just like working out. You tearing your muscles up, you in pain. But after a while, the results, you like, hey, I like what I see. It's the same thing with marriage. Sometimes you have to endure a little pain, a little storms to see where you want to go to and where you came from. So sometimes no pain, no gain.
And I'm a firm believer, man, that the pain, those are the times that really test your love, because you can talk about love all day, but
all day long.
When the money is funny, when I lost my job, what are you gonna do? Am I less than a man in your eyes because I ain't working? Am I less than a man because I got a job, but it's not? Now I'm down to low 5 figures when I was up to high almost 6 figures. And am I less than a man in your eyes? You know, how are you treating me now that some things have changed? Because things change.
Right.
I know for myself, medically, health-wise, some things changed when, you know, I had prostate cancer, was diagnosed with prostate cancer, had that vasectomy. And but I couldn't even bathe myself, man. And for that certain period of time. And she came in and it wasn't even a thought to her. It was like, let me go ahead and take care of my man.
Right. Exactly.
And that's the thing that showed me. Now I knew it in my head and I knew it in my heart, but it was really confirmed then that this chick loves me.
This chick loves you. Yeah, she'll do anything for you. Because sometimes, like you said, some people at one point they always loved each other. If you think about it, before you got married, when you so giggly and all that, ready to get married, some point the love was there. So what happens when something happens and when you don't love that? Sometimes I don't love Kim all the time. She gets on my nerves.
There you go.
So what am I gonna do if I don't love her right now? Am I just go up and jet and run? No, I got that love that's the agape love, in other words.
Agape love, that's right.
That agape love that God has given us to love one another. Because sometimes, you know, I don't like her, she don't like me, we can't stand each other. But it's that agape love that sustains us. We know that we can work things out and come back together. So, I mean, brothers, if you love your wife, you really love her the way God loves her, it's nothing that nothing you can't go through.
That's right. Together. And you might have to, you're gonna have to give up something. You're gonna have to compromise something. I ain't talking to her. She said this. I ain't talking to him. He said that. But somewhere down the line, the only way you're gonna be able, there you go. And the only way you're gonna be able to work together is communicate. And you're gonna have to talk. If you don't start talking to each other, and you're gonna let it fester. It's just gonna get you're just gonna get more angry. It's just gonna get worse. The words say, "Don't let the sun go down on your wrath." Don't let it fester. Don't let it stay there. Talk about it.
Right. Exactly. You gotta communicate.
Let me ask you this, man. And since y'all have, and I know y'all do some premarital counseling too. So
we used to. I mean, what happens is what happened is once we was appointed over the marriage ministry, the Murrays came to us and said, you know, y'all gonna be real busy. You know, they allowed us to step out of doing the premarital counseling. But we did do it, but we're not doing it anymore. We just over the marriage ministry.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Because I was going to ask you this, and you can still, I'm sure you got some information.
I still got some knowledge on it.
But I was going to ask you, do you think the idea of marriage has changed for men in the current generation? The idea of marriage has changed for brothers, but the modern men?
Yes, I think it has. I think the internet and this quick process, online dating, has really messed up the.
You know what? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, it really has messed up the generation, because now they figure out, okay, this will don't work out. I can just go and click on left swipe, right swipe, and get me another one. That's all they have to do now. I mean, you know, it's so instant right now that, you know, they're not putting any value. You know, back in our day, if you wanted to date someone, you had to go to their house. You had to, you know, you didn't have this texting. You had to pick up the phone and call. You had to be able to hear their voice. Now it's, you know, there's no feelings into anything that you do now. Most people like to text and email. I mean, how can you tell if she's receiving what you're saying? You could tell in a person's voice, oh yeah, she's paying attention. Oh yeah, she don't care about that. So right now the generation has really changed, and I feel sorry for them, because they're not. A lot of them are going into it not knowing the person. Like I said before, they're going into it just going off of looks, not putting any feeling into it, not spending a lot of time. It's pretty sad. I mean, really.
Well, and it makes me think, because when you mentioned online dating, it's almost like a blind date, and that's how Lily and I met. But the difference was, I knew
Right.
somebody that knew
Right.
Lily.
It's friends knowing friends. Now
So
you
I
don't
was
know anything.
introduced to her.
Right.
I didn't go out there and
Right.
look for myself and say, and look online, look at her profile and all this stuff and say, I think I like her. She like dogs. I
Right.
like dogs. Let's hook up.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was like, I know her. I think y'all be a good fit. I know him. And
Right.
actually it was Rodney Hayes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
was, yep. Hayes is the one
Yeah.
that his fiance came over. He and I were working out one day. His fiance came over and she asked him about me. And he said she thought that I would be a good match for Lily. So, and they
Right.
were all going to the same church and I wasn't going to that church then. So they
Well, see,
said, let's do a double date and rest is history. But
that's the difference. You knew somebody knew Lily and somebody knew you, but it went on with this online dating. It's only what you read, and I can make up anything now. I can sound like a superstar now. I can make myself sound good.
I mean,
but then you
I'm
don't
not gonna
know the
tell you I'm
inside
living
of
in
it.
my mama's basement.
Yeah, yeah. I got a 6-room mansion I'm living in, not in the basement. So I mean, it's different now. I mean, and I feel sorry for I'm trying to lead and guide my son in the right way to do it, but sometimes it's hard because the way the world is now. So, but
Hey,
I mean,
you're right. Because I talked to my girls about what kind of man to look for. And
right.
when you've got, I mean, I know you did too, wasn't gonna pull up in front. Now when I met Lily, she was on her own, but if we went to see her mother, I wasn't gonna just sit in the car while she go in the house and talk to her mom and her brothers and her sister. I had to get out. I had to present myself. I had to speak to her. She needed to know who I was. And so much of that is missing now, like you were saying earlier. So much of that structure and that dating structure is missing.
Right.
It's like
back in the day, you had protocol back in the day.
You had a protocol.
You didn't roll up and bump no horn if you was taking a girl on a date. You went and knocked on the door, went in for a minute and wait for her to come out. And then y'all go, you speak to the parents. Parents come in, talk to you for a minute, and then you go on a date. Now they just pull up.
Yeah. They knew what you looked like. They knew your name. They knew your people.
Right.
It wasn't this stuff now that I'm gone. And I don't know him. I don't even know his name.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's really different now for this generation, and they have to be very careful of who they're around and what's going on, because like I said, you don't want to get married to someone that you find out down the road that wasn't really who you thought they were.
Right.
Or they didn't show their true self until you got married. Like Pastor always say, hey, get them mad one time and see what happened. They start throwing dishes and doing stuff like that. You be like, nah, this ain't for me.
You know who you're dealing with.
You know who you're dealing with. So you can't expect if you get married to her and then, you get her mad, you know what's coming.
Right.
I mean, she ain't gonna change. Plate throwing and all that's gonna happen. So
she ain't gonna stop throwing plays because she's married.
Right. Exactly. So it's just totally different right now for them. So they just have to be careful. And like you said, the main thing for the Christian person is just to make sure you find somebody that's equally yoked with you. And
right.
Make somebody that you can, know that I can come to your house and see where you living at, who your mama, ask who your mom and daddy.
That's
have they been married for? Your mom and daddy, they separate, divorce, or have they been married? How long they been married? Because that can tell you a lot about a person too.
Sure can.
That means that if their parents have been married for 25 years, they have seen that structure of marriage, especially a Christian family. They've seen that structure of a Christian marriage. And you can assume that the young person or whoever knows how to function somewhat. And it ain't gonna, we can only raise them how we, want them to be.
Right, because they'll still make choices, but they got the fundamentals. They got the teaching. They got the background. So they can't say, well, I saw my dad do this, so I'm doing it. No, you ain't never seen me. And matter of fact, you might have seen me argue with your mom, but you ain't never seen me raise your hand to her. You ain't never seen me get out of character with her, hold her, shake her, nothing like that. You never had seen me throwing anything. So don't accept that.
Right.
If you didn't live in that environment, don't put yourself in a place to be there.
Right. But then some people could be some Christian homes that they had to live in that environment. So it's they have to find a person or someone to, that's living the right way and try to just maybe see how it is in real life to go and live that way. So,
and it can, I imagine you look at a relationship and you think, man, they don't argue, they look happy all the time. And to their credit, don't let that fool you, because all of us, like, and you said it earlier, sometimes we don't like each other.
Sometimes you ain't gonna like each other.
Right. But it's nothing that we can't work out.
We can't work out. We know how to handle the situation. And God has always told me that even if I know that Kim is wrong, and instead of just arguing the point that I'm right, apologize and say, I'm sorry. If there's anything that I've done, I'm sorry. And then I'll go and pray to God. God, look, hey, you know I was right on this. That's your daughter. I need you to touch her heart. And most of the time, he'll touch her heart. And she'll come back and say, well, I'm sorry, baby, that you was right. So it's all about keeping peace in your home.
Yes, sir.
Because this is, when me and Kim first got married, we went through some counseling, and the pastor told us, hey, he told me, I figured it out. I said, well, it's like I'm my own pastor in my home. And he was like, exactly. You are the pastor in your home. So, whatever goes on in your home, you control. I can control everything that goes on in my home by setting the example. And when I come to Kim and I tell her that I'm sorry, how hard would it be? Is it going to be for her to come and say she's sorry? If I'm willing to, as I said before, servant leader, I'm willing to serve her by saying I'm sorry.
Right.
And we can fix the situation. When she's done something to me or something's going on, how easy is it going to be for her to come back to me and say, I'm sorry, because I've shown her how to say, I'm sorry, even though you may not be wrong.
Right. And that's a good thing, because it shows that when I think about it, he didn't have to apologize, but yet there he is apologizing. So I can do the same thing, and I can do the same thing.
Exactly. So, like we said, is when women, what we give women, they give back.
They give back.
Probably more than we give it. Like Pastor always say, we give them a seed in 9 months, they give us a baby.
They give us a whole baby.
So if we giving them love, respect, and honor, how easy is it going to be for them to give it back to us?
So, and they're going to give us back more than we gave them.
Exactly. My plate will be ready when I get home.
Yes, sir. And it'll be ready with a smile, not, oh, here he come again.
Right. So, it's how you want your home to be. You can set the atmosphere for it as a man of God in your home. If you want something done in your home, you can set it where it can be done in your home with prayer and with an example. We some men like to be dictators. God hadn't set us up to be dictators. He has set us up to be leaders and servants and leaders in our home. So.
And it's funny that the dictators want to make tough decisions when it benefits them, but when it's really come time to make a decision on something that's going to benefit everybody, well, you go ahead and do it. Do whatever you want. Right. And that's what we got to get away from. We got to get away from throwing responsibility on somebody else, because there's a time to designate, and then there's a time to lead.
Exactly.
Because there's some things that I remember the story of Jethro and Moses, and Moses was taking on a lot, and Jethro said, "Hey, man, you need to take the bigger things and put some people in charge and let them take on the little things." And in a house, it can be, in a marriage, it can be like that. And not to say the wife is the only one that's got to take on the small things, because the roles can be reversed. Sometimes it's something as simple as correcting the children. And
Exactly.
you know how they get with mom is oh,
Right.
she gonna hug me and
Right.
she gonna make me feel better. So I'm not, if I give her a hard time, she get on me, but she'll forgive me. But then then mama had to send pops in there and say, look, you need to set them straight. And
Right.
well, I think you got it. No, you need to go in
Right.
there and make your presence felt.
Right. And you need to go in there, and you guys need to go in as a team.
You go
When
in
you
as
go
team,
in
yep.
as,
Have each
yeah,
other back.
even if you have to step out and you two have a conversation, she trying to do this, don't you falter. We gonna say this, and we sticking to our guns. As long as you go in there and set that ground rule that y'all are a team. And we try to set that early, that let them know, the kids, what your mama say. Okay, I'm with you. Whatever your mama said at this time, this was going on. Or what your daddy say. Okay, whatever your daddy said, that's what's gonna happen. Because we gonna know that we got the best interest for them at heart. So we standing together as a team. Don't try to play us. We not to be played. So
And that's a good point, Buzz, because the two become one, the Bible says. So when it
exactly.
comes to marriage, we are a team.
Yeah,
We're
we're our team.
supposed to be working together. We're supposed to be
Right.
one in and I guess I don't. Let me ask your opinion of that. When it's working
Yeah.
together as one, what does that mean to you in marriage?
That means that whatever goes on in our life is as one. We're striving for the same. We're going in the same direction.
Right.
Okay, we're not going in two different ways. Especially with the money. Like this is a touchy subject for some, like paying a bank account. I mean, me and my wife said that we're gonna have one bank account. We may have some other ones on the side, but the one bank account is where all our money goes, and we pay our bills out of there. Ain't no need for but this may work for. This is how it worked for us. I'm not saying some people may do it differently,
Yeah.
but I came to a conclusion that why is God? He said we are one, so why is He going to want to bless two different accounts?
Mm.
So I'm saying that we put it all in here, and we pay our bills. If I'm broke, you broke. I mean, I don't need to have $500 and my wife ain't got no money.
Ain't got
So we
nothing.
saying,
Right.
yeah, exactly. If I'm broke, you broke. We all together. This is as one, and that's how I feel that God said that, because He said we're one flesh. We come together. We're one. So why is He wanting to do all this other stuff? But if you do have separate accounts, your wife or your husband should have access to those
That's
accounts.
right.
Right. So if you do have something on the side, she ought to know your password, your code, just in case she need to get to some money, she can do it. But the deal with us being one flesh is that we're all striving to be what God has called our marriage to be, is a shining example. We shouldn't be going in two different paths. We should be going in the path that God has set us. And most of the time, God is, he gives the woman some vision, He gives the man some vision. So, but the ultimate person that God holds responsible is the man.
That's right.
So if your family is going in the wrong direction, you have the right and the responsibility to get that family back in order and going to the right path for becoming one flesh together again. So I mean,
And that makes sense. Is the man is the head of the house, and he's
exactly.
not the dictator. He's
He's
not
not
the person
dictating.
that knows everything, but
Right.
all the responsibility falls on him, and
Right.
he's the leader. So he needs to
So
be in a position to lead.
right. In the position to hear God, to hear what God is saying, and to be able to execute what God is saying without having the wife to be going against him. So that's becoming one. So if a husband comes to his wife and said, God is telling us to do this, instead of a woman saying, no, God ain't telling you to do this, like God can talk to her too, but instead of her going against what he thinks God is telling, because what'll happen is if God is speaking to the man, and every time he tells his wife what God is saying and she's going against him, after a while, he is not going to share what God is
Absolutely.
going to say. And then what's going to happen is the blessing that God is telling them to, the way to go to get to their blessing, they won't get there because God he's not sharing it, and the wife is going in the opposite direction than what God wanted to do. So when women hear, when the man comes to, this is just for everybody. If the man comes to the woman and the woman is always nagging him saying, well, you ain't hearing from God, like God is supposed to hear from her first, she ought to take a step back and say, well, God is, telling him this, I'm willing to follow him, but she can pray just to make sure, pray to God, is this truly what you want us to do, God? And
Right.
then if the man misses it, we may miss it sometime.
That's right.
If he misses it, God can tell her, well, tell him that I said this, you missed it, and this is how we want to go. But it's all in the way that she comes at the man.
Absolutely.
Comes with him, if she comes at him with a loving tone, with not nagging or just saying, I told you it wasn't God. If he comes in, you know what I'm saying? What you gonna do, Greg? Yeah, what you gonna do with your wife? Every time you say God is telling us to do this, you gonna shut down and ain't gonna say no.
That's right.
So women have to be careful how they deal with their man. Sometimes, I'm giving you an example. Sometimes women are more spiritually advanced than men. It takes us a while to get there.
It does.
Me and my wife is a situation where she was saved and doing all this, and it took me a while to get saved and all that just to become, but she didn't beat me up. She let me go at my own pace.
Right.
So it wasn't like, you ought to be doing this, you ought to be doing this. And she wasn't beating me up over it, because, if she did me like that, I'd probably been still not, doing what I'm supposed to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Because of that pride and that ego. I'm like, well, you can't tell me what to do, and expect me to do it if you're nagging at me.
If you're nagging at me, right.
So women have have power in a relationship too, but they got to know how to use their power in a loving manner, because God is going to speak to the husband, and the husbands can try. And like we said, we may miss it sometime, and God can go talk to the next in line to change the order. God, the husband, then the wife. If the husband missed what God is saying, who is he going to go down to next? Who's next in line? The wife.
You're going to give it to the wife, yeah.
Right.
And
the wife.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and he'll have her present it in a way, like you said, bring it in with love. Well, babe, what if we tried this? And yes. What if we take this route? Did you think about this? And then it makes, and that when you include me in it, then I can deal with the fact that I probably missed it. I may not come out and say it right away, but I know that I missed it. But if I put my faith in our relationships, men and women, marriages, our relationships should be like our relationships with God. And that is, we trust God, we love him, and we trust him. So when he tells us to do something, it look crazy. It sound like it ain't gonna happen. It's just like, sometimes it's like, God, I don't know where you got that from, but we'll go ahead and do it. Then our wives will say, baby, I think we ought to do this. And it's like, where you get that from? But I believe that sometimes we need to say, I love you, I trust you, and if you tell me you heard from God, I believe it. And not just saying that. There could even be a track record of hearing from God.
Right. Unless I'm saying that, hey, we're gonna drive this car, God's telling me to drive this car off the bridge.
I know you ain't heard from God.
Stop right here. I'm getting out. God didn't tell us to do it.
I know you ain't heard from God on that one. But you feel free to go ahead and do it.
Right. Because God is not going to do anything for it to hurt the marriage.
That's absolutely.
If your husband's coming at you with something that says that's not going to be detrimental to the marriage or detrimental to you or your wife or your kids, you ought to take a time back, just pray about it, and listen to what he has to say. And I really feel, this is about husband marriages, but it takes a lot of pressure off the wife if she's able to listen, to her husband, and because she doesn't have the stress on her. As men are built to handle stress.
That's right. We are.
Women are not built to handle stress. So if something is wrong, the wives go to the husband. Hey, baby, we need to do this, because this is going to happen. And it's the women, the husband's responsibility to try to make it happen. Like light bill need to be paid, and we ain't got no money. So instead of the wife coming to the husband, "Nay, we ain't got no money for the light bill." Hey, baby, light bill need to be paid. You need to find out a way. And then the husband's responsibility is to find a way to make sure the lights get paid.
That's right. Because and you're right. That's his responsibility, is to make sure that that home is not just healthy and happy spiritually, but you're supposed to make sure that it's warm inside in the winter and cool in the summer. You're supposed to take care of that. You are the provisionary, for lack of a better word. You're the guy that's supposed to make sure that this stuff is continually to happen, so that your home is safe and comfortable for everybody to live in.
Right. Yeah. It ain't your wife. If AC go out, your wife shouldn't have to be finding somebody to fix it.
Well, there
you should be the one going out to fix it.
You should take the lead on that.
Yep. If she say the AC went out today, honey, all right, baby, I'll take care of it.
Let me see what I can do.
God is holding you accountable to make sure that your family is functioning the way he wants it to function. He's providing for you. He don't want your family to be lacking because you're not doing your part. It's all in finding our roles. And that's the man's role. I mean, a lot of men sit home and let the wife do that stuff. But then when it's get messed up, he's mad because it didn't get done right.
Right.
When it was his responsibility to make sure it was done right the first time.
And that's went back to I was asking about your experience with in y'all's counseling, and even in the marriage ministry, and running into men that seem like they have that idea. Because I mean, I'm just noticing that a lot of men are taking a back seat to the wife. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm noticing that they really, I mean, I think it's important for a man to have his voice and his voice be heard. Like we said earlier, not dictating and telling you go here, and do what I said. Not like that, unless you have to, unless, like you said, unless you see danger. And if I see you going left when you should have gone right, and I'm gonna tell you, hey, you need to go right. Then I'm gonna assert my authority. But it's to help you, not to hurt you, and not to dominate you. And I just see a lack of basically a lack of leadership and a lack of desire to provide.
Right.
Do you see that a lot? I mean, in some of the newer marriages.
Yes. Sometimes when they first come into counseling, we see that, but we try to emphasize, hey, this is how you should be making sure things are taken care of. And then if we see most, I'm gonna say African-American men, they have married strong Black women. So sometimes in that counseling, that woman is just so strong, just strong. She wants to, she's used to being by herself, that she's just got to, if something ain't right, I gotta fix it because she's been by herself. We try to let them know, hey, it'll make it easier on you if you let him lead. And we try to say, brothers, you got to step up to the plate and do your part. This is how God has wanted it to be. He wants you to be the leader, taking care and provide. You ain't got to provide. You ain't got to be making 6 figures and she's making, she may be making more, but you still are the leader of that house. Even though she's making more than you, you still the leader. Don't let the money dictate who runs the household. And women, you have to be able to submit. You're not becoming a doormat. You're not becoming anything where, you let it walk all over you, but you submit to the authority of how God has set it up. So then it takes the pressure off of you. And, women, they get sick quicker than we do, because if the pressure is on them, stuff starts happening to them. So it makes, if you're in order, God provides for the family a lot smoother than when you're out of order.
Right.
And like we say, God tells us that that 3-cord strand is stronger.
It's strong,
you have to have God for one, the husband and the wife with stronger bond. It can't easily be broken. When you got only 2, it's easily broken. So if you don't, main thing, you got to make sure you got God in there. If it's just you and your wife, it's easy to break that strand. So make sure you got that 3-cord.
And in the end, when we do these things and we lead by example, and we're not going to have the perfect marriage, but as men, when we do our part, and the wife sees what we're doing. She does her part, and then the kids see, and and everybody lines up. It's God who gets the glory. People look at your marriage and say, "Look what the Lord has done."
That's right. Especially if some of them knew where you came from before you got married. Yeah, they say, "Man, how can I get my?" That's the whole thing. I try to, we want to live. We just don't want to talk it. We want to live it. So a lot of people can talk it. A lot of people go to church, like I said before, go to church to look good, but are you living it? If I stepped inside your house, is there turmoil going on? When I come over, I can tell, dang, they've been at it all. This house look like it's, you just feel when it's tension.
You can feel the tension. Yeah.
Right. So you just want to be in order where God can bless and he gets the glory. It's all about, like I said before, he ordained marriages. He was going to use marriages before he had to establish a church just to get all the glory for him. So,
absolutely. And when we do what he says, his name is exalted. His kingdom is glorified. And we provide an example for people, and especially the brothers. I just really felt the need to do this with you, because I feel like there's some men out there that it will help them a lot to know that you can be a good husband. And we talked about a lot, we covered a lot, but go and play it back, because there's some things that we said. I think you'll find some things out of what was said that can really help a guy in marriage. And that all marriage ain't bad. It's work. But even if you've already and if you've been through one and I ain't never getting married again, okay, that's your decision. But just I would just say give it some thought. I mean, if you don't want to do it, you don't want to do it. You may not want to replace the love that you lost, but just don't look at it as something bad. If you don't want to do it, don't do it because you had a bad experience one time.
Right. Because like you said, marriage is good. Once you get in and you have a good one, it's gonna take some work to have a good one. It ain't gonna be smelling like roses all the time. Like we said before, if you're gonna go through some things, but which will just make you stronger. So I would just, for guys out there who's thinking about getting married or has been married, want to remarry, just get the data. Get some data from whoever you're thinking about married. Make sure that they're, you're equally yoked and you're heading in the same direction. You want the same things. She's not going one way, you're not going one way. That you're all looking to glorify God in your marriage, because, like I said, your marriage is going to, for one, impact your house.
Yeah.
Then you can impact your community, because your neighbors see how good marriage you got. They may come over and say, "Hey, look, man, I noticed, your marriage is pretty solid. What do you do to keep your marriage solid?" Then we can direct them to God.
Right.
And then once we start catching on our community, we can start reaching our city. And then once we reach the city, the nation. This thing could just blossom into something huge. So just by your single marriage.
Right.
How many kids your friend, how many friends come over to see your kids and they may not only see your marriage as a godly marriage. Their mom and daddy may be divorced. So you may be able to touch them and say, well, the Sowell mom and daddy, did it like this. They got a good marriage. So I'm gonna be looking for a spouse to, have a marriage like that. You never know who you're gonna impact.
And you're right, Buzz. And what I've learned is that they may not see it right. It may not happen right away, but you're sowing seeds. Right. So when they get in a situation where they trying to decide on whether they want to marry this person or not, as young people, they start thinking back, you know what? I remember the Sowells, and when I remember how Mr. Sowell would come into the house and how Mr. Sowell would greet him and how they would interact with their kids. And when we were over there, that stuff come back, because I remember it happened to me. I remember I started looking back on my mom and dad and the way they were handling marriage, and when I decided to get married, and it started getting to be serious. But it was while we were gathering the data that these thoughts start coming back to.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of people miss that gathering that data, don't they?
They jump in the boat. They jump in the gun.
That figure, they see that pretty face and that figure, be like, oh my God, that's the one.
They see them abs,
But
the little girls be checking out them abs, they're
muscles,
like,
yeah.
oh,
Yeah, that's the one. But then
yeah, that's the one. And turn out, nah, he's a zero. She's a zero. But they're not bad people.
Not
they
bad
just
people.
wasn't ready for what you wanted. Like you said, y'all wasn't equally yoked. Y'all wasn't traveling the same road. And you can travel the same road, but you don't have to do the same things. Exactly. But you need to be on the same road going to the same destination. And God is going to take you, and he might get you to do something a little different, but you're still on the road. You might not, there's some things like prayer, reading the word, and fasting at times. That's required of every believer. But then he might call you to do outreach, street ministry, and he might not call the wife to do that. And then if he doesn't, and he's got to go and out and do street ministry, then you're gonna have to put your desire to be with him. I want you, baby. I want you to stay with me. Can't you skip one?
Right.
You got to kind of put that on hold and let him do what God called him to do.
What God is calling him to do, right? And then if you pray about that thing, and God will tell you, yeah, he needs to be doing the street ministry. And I've called him to do that. So either you follow him or, but you want to do what God tells you to do. So it's very important that, like you said, we got to make sure we fasting and praying together. Especially like you said, the godly marriage, it's very important that you spend some time, pillow talk. I mean,
yes, sir.
Your wife should be your best friend. I mean, there's, I got some best friends back in the day, but when it comes down to it, my wife is my best friend. I love spending time with her. And I encourage you guys, hey, have fun with your wives. If you ain't laughing, you ain't having, you make her laugh, go out and do stuff together. Don't be so serious all the time. Especially that young man that husband that's, a godly husband, you can't beat him up with word all the time. You got to loosen up and just live life. I mean,
you got to live life. You gotta show that soft side of you, but it don't make you soft. It just means that you got a balanced life. You live in a balanced marriage. You know how to have fun, but then you know how to be serious.
Right. You know when to switch. You know when to switch it on and off when you need to.
Right.
So, the perfect word you said, that balanced marriage, because that's very important, because you don't want to be tied down to a stiff neck all the time. You know what I'm saying? You got to have fun in marriage, because if you're not having fun, it's gonna get to the point where I ain't having no fun. I'm ready to go somewhere else. So if you ain't having fun, you make some fun. You find, especially the man, like I said before, it's your household. If you want to have fun in your house, I ain't saying that you're gonna be having fun all the time.
All the time.
It's got to be balanced. You know when to be serious. You know when it's time to fast and pray. You know when it's time for us to get down to business. But have fun.
And you know what for the long haul. And what you said is true. If you try to create something, and like you said earlier, if you gather enough data, you know what makes her laugh. You know what she like to do to have fun. You know what she like to go to have fun. So really, if you gather the data, then that part, having fun ain't even a problem, because you already know what she like to do.
Yeah, but you know what I mean when you see that husband trying to be so cool and so hard, and he look like he's just so stiff. I know, man, he ain't trying. I see that in church sometimes. They just like they never smile, and just, I mean, how's it if they ain't smiling out in public? What are they doing at home?
What are they doing at home? And you can pretty much figure what they're doing at home. He goes straight in the house, straight to his chair, do his thing. She got to take care of everything else. Brothers, I ain't throwing that on you. As my pastor say,
if he ain't talking about you unless it's you.
Unless it's you. Hey, boys, we've been on here for an hour, man. Let me let you go. Thank you for your time, brother. I appreciate that, man.
I hope we said something that maybe could touch a brother. But if not, if he has any questions, just reach out to me or Greg. I mean, like I said, my marriage is, we ain't coming on here saying we perfect husbands. By no means. God's still working on me. I still fall short sometimes. but he knows my heart. He knows I'm trying to strive to be the best husband, father I can be. And I just thank God that he has allowed my household to be in order.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, you know how, sometimes you got to let God get your house in order sometimes.
And
Go
sometimes what
ahead.
you doing ain't working.
Right. You gotta let him do it.
And
But
you
just
gotta
don't
let
give up.
God do it.
You can't give up hope, because we done this thing is a covenant, not a contract.
Right.
I mean, you can
Contract
break it. You can break one of
contract
them.
had expiration dates. Covenant don't.
Exactly.
Covenant lasts forever.
Something I said I was gonna stick here and stick it out. I mean, you might not have all good days, but I'm still gonna stick it out for the next day. Next day is gonna be better.
That's right. And then and it go back to what we said in the beginning. You gotta work to make that next day be better. You gotta. I always told my girls, if you're doing something and it ain't working, you do it again, it ain't working. You gotta do something different.
You gotta get that other tool out of the toolbox.
You gotta get that other tool. You gotta try something different.
Yeah, but just
Buzz,
want to encourage brothers, man.
I'm gonna thank you for your time, my friend. You can listen to Buzz and his wife Kim. She loved him so much. That's why you see her name down here, because she let him use. This is a team right here. She let him use her laptop for this meeting today. So, brothers, this is the example of a good marriage. They are one. He doing the talking, and she got her name on there. Even though this is for all my brothers. So y'all.
It's all for brothers.
Catch them, Buzz and Kim Sowell. It's marriage ministry. What's the name of it, Buzz? For Marriage Sowell. Catch Marriage Sowell on WLJF 100.7 FM. If you can't get it on the radio station, go to loveandfaith.org. Click on the media. I think I got it right. The media tab. Scroll down to Marriage Sowell. You can see some listen to some archive episodes, or you can listen to the episode that's on that Wednesday. Buzz, Mr. Broadus Sowell. Buzz, my man. Thank you. Thank you for your time, my brother. I really appreciate it. I really believe that this is going to be a blessing.
I appreciate you having me on. God bless.
All right, man. You take care and we'll talk soon.
All right, we'll see you.
Thank you again for listening today. If you have a question or comment, write to us at ktwm96@yahoo.com. That's ktwm96@yahoo.com. And please click the subscribe button to be notified of our new podcast episodes. You can also like, comment, and share on the Knowing the Way Ministries Facebook and Instagram pages. We would love to hear from you. So, my friends, until next time, may God bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he grant you favor and give you peace in Jesus' name. And remember this, you are